um, when I share it, everything disappears on my screen. Okay. So I wanted to touch base with everyone. They shut down, like I said, the Valdosta State, and it said we're supposed to cancel classes. But like Dr. Mitchell talked to me, she evacuated. She was from the Orlando area, and she had moved to Valdosta, and she's back. Went the last I heard from her, she was back in Orlando, and she was trying to decide if she needed to have her call or not because we were told that we were, shut down. I told her, I let everybody know that I was recording it and that if there were people that couldn't make it tonight that they wanted to have a call, then I would gladly reschedule that. But I wanted to touch base with y'all about a couple of things before we got um, deeper into the semester. There we go. All right, so everything's officially closed, and we'll reopen. The email that I got today, it said that they were going to hope to reopen on the 16th. That's the day after fall break. So we still have a lot of people. I know Dr. Laracy, y'all know him. He lives right north of Jacksonville in that area, and he has to drive down to into Florida to get internet access. So he might drive down once or twice a day to check his email and stuff. So I know that there's still a lot of problems with power and internet and that kind of stuff with the um, Georgia folks. So I wanted to talk to you about due dates. Um, I don't know. I didn't know if y'all had had difficulty with getting with your groups. I felt like you probably did. So I was going to find out if y'all thought if we backed up that research question group activity to the 20th, is that good? Is that enough time? Do we need to think about something different? What are your thoughts?
If I may, our group, can y'all hear me, by the way? I was having mic issues before.
Yes, we
We're
can
good?
hear you.
Sweet. Oh,
Mhm.
well, if I may, our group had talked about a meeting directly after the original, I guess, scheduled virtual session, our synchronous call number 2. Um, and as a result, once that was rescheduled, we were considering meeting in place of the synchronous call number 2 at that same time slot. I hesitated just because I didn't feel too clear or certain about it. But I feel like after working through modules 5 and module 6, um, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it. So I think that if we were to extend the deadline, this is just my opinion. So please, dissenters, feel free to
Mhm.
dissent. But I feel like if we were to extend the deadline beyond that, then I don't know. I feel like my how do I want to phrase this? An earlier call, you would talk to Dr. Nobles about learning how to sing the ABCs, and I feel like
Mhm.
I don't really have the tune right just yet. But I
Yeah.
feel like if we push the deadline a little bit further, then all of a sudden I'll be singing even more off key. So
That's great. My concern, it's not that first research question activity is not that heavy duty, but it's just that I didn't know if people were able to had connectivity, and if y'all were like, I've had emails from students in both of my classes that they were sitting in a McDonald's or a Panera or somewhere, trying to get things to upload, and I'm trying to get people to understand that not to worry about, due dates and all that. So that was more than the work. It was the having that connectivity for y'all to get together to meet the group. So I didn't know if y'all had been having trouble with that. So y'all want to push it back to the 20th? Can y'all do like a thumbs up or something? Or does
I think
anybody go for it?
my group has not been able to meet because some people still don't have power or internet. So
Right.
yes, to push it back, I think that'd be helpful.
Oh yeah, I for sure. I know I keep telling y'all I don't care if you turned it on due date or not, but I know, you have that sense of that you got to get it turned in. So I thought if I put it back at least to the 20th, we can see if y'all still are having trouble meeting and need to extend it further. The problem with the research questions, you need to decide on those 2 research questions to move forward in the rest of your group activities to create that to do your research design for your qualitative and quantitative. You gotta have your questions. So I'll push it back to the 20th. Now, what about the research design things, those projects? Or the sampling group activity? Do we need to push do we need to push anything back? We gotta, of course, have it in by whenever I have to turn in grades, which is I think somewhere around December the 8th, something like that. And it's just like those critique, that's something that people could be working on. It's not a group activity. That's a long extensive paper for me to read, and I have 20 of those. If y'all turn everything in on December the 8th, I probably can get it graded, but I was just trying to think of what would be the best for y'all.
Can you tell us a little bit about the group projects for the design projects that we can kind of know what it entails?
So you get your research questions, your quality. I used to do it in the past. I've done it together. I hadn't split qualitative from quantitative, but I decided we'd split it since Dr. Mitchell is the qualitative expert, and she's coming in new and is teaching the class. So we've been kind of remodeling. I had built the class. It was probably at least 2 classes worth. There was a stats class within the class because we had a Dr. Brockmeyer that was with us. Extremely bright man that did the quantitative stuff, and he used an application called RStudio, and there was a lot of statistical. If you'd have taken this last fall with me, you would have got a lot more statistical stuff than you're getting out of this semester. So that's what, since I was totally revamping the class, I wanted Dr. Mitchell to be involved with the rebuild of it. And that's when we separated the qual from the quant. So once you decide on that qualitative question, then you're going to start building your research design. You're going to decide, is it going to be a narrative, a basic interpretive, phenomenological, that kind of decision. What's your sample going to be? You're going to build it out, do a plan. You're not going to actually do it, of course, but you're going to build out that plan. So you're applying the things that you've learned. Then with the quantitative question, you're going to do the same thing. What's the problem? What's the purpose? What's the significance in both of them? Those parts that you've been finding in the dissertations, that's what you're going to work on as a group. You'll have your qualitative research design, your quantitative research design, down through the, what are the methods that you're going to plan to use. So it'd be like, you won't do a literature review. You're just deciding on, but based on this question that we've gotten, what is a logical question that I would plan if I were going to do this research? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it would be all the parts that you've been finding, kinda, except for you won't collect any data. You won't have a big literature review. It's not a huge paper. It's just a lot of discussion. What I started doing, and when I started doing this 3 years ago, rather than you read some stuff, write a paper, read some stuff, write a paper, I thought it was more helpful for y'all to actually build one of these things, to have practice with it. And all the classes, I've gotten a lot of good feedback about, they liked this activity and they liked it, to work in the groups. Because when you're talking about sampling, or whatever it happens to be, you might think that something means for us to turn to the left, where three other people in your group or two other people might say, no, I didn't interpret it that way. And so what I've gotten back from the students is through the discussion to build this research design, that's when you actually got a better handle on the parts, the pieces to it. So everybody turns in the same thing for the qualitative research. Y'all going to turn in the same thing for the research questions. That's your 2 research questions. And when y'all talk about your research questions and you see each other's research questions and have the conversation, you're going to tweak those research questions so that you're going to give me your best quantitative and best qualitative as a group. Everybody's going to turn in the same question in that group. Does that make sense? Like there's 3 of you in the group, all of you going to turn in the same questions. Then at the end of the questions, you're going to tell me your reflection on that process and on the product. Like, do I think I have a good research question, or I like this about this process, I didn't like this about that process. So I want to see some thinking from you about the process and the product. And then if you have any feedback for me about the activity in general. So those aren't like heavy duty papers or anything. The research questions and the 2 designs, it's not like 10 or 15 page papers. It's maybe 2 pages or 3 pages at most on those. The sampling group activity, we'll assign y'all a different type of sample or 2, and then y'all will talk about if we'll give you some data. For example, let's just say I gave you 20 students and you had the sampling method where you had to pick every nth student. So out of 20 people, if you picked every 7th student, you would only have 2 students in your sample. Does that make sense? That's not a good method for you to use. So those are the kind of things I want you to think through and talk through when we assign you your sampling method. So it's not like a big heavy duty paper. The individual quantitative data project, you're going to use Excel. We're going back to Excel. In the past couple of years, I got students to install R. It's free. And to use R, it's a very powerful little program. You have to know how to write the code to use R. And Dr. Brockmeyer would give me the code for the students to use. But we're going to go back to Excel. Excel, you can get all Microsoft Office products for free. I don't know if y'all know that or not. Off of the Valdosta State when it's working website. I'll have that link in module 7 for you. There's a data pack an add-in that you download. I'm going to give you the data file for you to use for your quantitative project. So it's more manipulating Excel and then writing the results. In module 7, in the descriptive statistics, I think I put it in there in that particular section. I've given you the information. If you don't have Excel, here's where to download it. I've given you a video that shows you like it's a minute and 50 something seconds, I think. Here's how to check to see if you have that data pack that you need selected. And the actual running of statistics in Excel is pretty darn easy. Like you just, go to your data pack, you tell it you want to look at your descriptive statistics, the highlight that you want, enter, and it is. So it's not that, it's kind of scary if you hadn't used Excel or don't like Excel or, that kind of stuff, but it's nowhere near as complicated as using R. So that project, that quantitative project, it might take you a bit if you're not as familiar with Excel to, to get comfortable with Excel, but I'm giving you some videos in the data project. If you have two screens, that's helpful. If you can watch the video and it says highlight this, and then you can actually do it on your other screen. And R was like that. Anything to do with technology is like that. So those are the quant projects individual. So the three projects that we're looking at beside the research question that we're going to put off to the 20th is your sampling project, your qualitative research design, your quantitative research design. So do y'all think we need to back those up? You don't have to tell me right now. If y'all want to email me and tell me what you think about it, that's fine. Too, because that's a month away. And we can adjust dates. Dr. Mitchell is kind of since I've done this more than she has, this particular, as we're building out the course, because we're using a lot of stuff out of my course that I usually did. We're just cutting it way back. So she's interested in what I find out about the dates.
Well, the thing is, if we move the dates back, it doesn't mean that you can't turn something in sooner if you're done and ready.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Dr. Nobles, are these like the last, like the rest of the projects for the course, or there's more stuff after this?
I think the only other thing, you have the critique that's going on, and then you'll have your final, and I believe that's it. My biggest concern with the group activities is the connectivity issue, and y'all being able to get up with people. I can back all of them up 1 week if that's good, and then if y'all get them in early, that's fine. Does that work?
Mhm.
Okay. I'll make myself a post-it note. I can't remember the date on the critique, but it was toward the end of the semester anyway.
It's November 24th.
Okay. Happy Thanksgiving, huh? All
And the
right.
final is a final quiz, right?
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I can't connect to the chat very well. My internet is slow. So I was just wondering if the final is a final quiz, right? It's a
Mhm.
combination of all the questions we've already had.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, on the group work, on the research questions, I purposely don't give feedback on that. When you turn in the qualitative, like I say, in the past, I've had y'all to turn in both. If I had you turn in the qualitative, you'll, look at module 6, and then you don't turn the quantitative ones back into me. You just have those at your group when your group meets, so you can have something to offer. Here my each group member say, here are my 4 qualitative, here are my 4 quantitative, and then y'all decide which one you want to go with. So I purposely don't provide feedback when you turn them in, because I don't want you repeating what I say. I want your conversation to be with your group about what you think. And so that's why I don't give any feedback. Like if you turn something in that looks like a question, then you're good to go for that qualitative assignment. Now, once y'all get to the point where you're doing your group work and deciding on your quantitative and qualitative question that you're going to use for your other projects, I will give you some feedback. Like I had a group last year that they asked some question like, it was something to the effect of, is there a difference in student achievement scores by ethnicity? And I said, you can't use that for a research question because you could Google that and find that answer. You know, there's been tons of research done on that. You can find that answer like that. So I will give you some feedback on your questions. I was given the feedback from last fall's class that they thought some of them would have liked me to attend some of their group meetings to be in the conversation. So if you want me to be in a group meeting, just let me know when you have a group meeting. This is when you start working on your research design. Let me know what time it is, date and time, and I'm pretty sure I can make that happen. All right. All right. So you're going to have several group activities. Some groups prefer to keep the same leader. Um, just keep the same leader. That's fine with me. Some groups wanted to share the wealth, and the leader basically is an accountability mechanism. You let me know that everybody's participating. In some way, you give me some evidence that everybody, you know, like I get screenshots of the group meetings or something. Most of the time in that, like I say, I want you to do a reflection. You tell me what you think about the process, what you think about your product, and then any other feedback. And generally, I have very few of them, but if there's a slacker, then usually in that last section of your paper, and that's when people let me know so-and-so did not come to the meeting, so-and-so didn't participate. And once I get that, I can't see my full screen, so when you raise your hand, David, I see it now, but that's why I didn't call on you. But anyway, if someone is not participating, then I knock their points down on their grade. Like you all might get 100 and they might get an 80 or something like that for that group project. If 2 or 3 people in the group tell me that so and so didn't participate, then I have a pretty good feeling that they didn't participate. Like I say, I've had in 3 years, I think maybe 3 or 4 people that, you know, there was a problem because pretty much doc students are pretty much, you know, ready to get things done. And what's your question, David?
So just transparently, I got an email earlier today, and that was the first communication that I'd received that I'm aware of that groups had been assigned. And I've been trying to get onto the website and get into BlazeView, and none of that's available right now. So
Yeah, don't worry about anything that's happened before now. I
Okay.
sent out the Excel spreadsheet and put you in your groups, and I named the first leader. And
Okay.
you know, the hurricane hit. So
Okay. So I don't know
nobody's
that I got that communication, Dr. Nobles.
okay. I will, as soon as I can get I will send it back out tonight.
I appreciate that. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. And I just randomly put y'all in groups, and I had 6 C&I students. So I made 2 groups of 3 for those 6 people. And then the people that were leadership people, I just kind of, some of you are in groups 3, some are in groups of 4. If you get too big of a group, you know, it's hard for y'all to schedule something. You know, if you're trying to schedule 5 or 6 people, it you know, it's just makes it harder. Let me write myself a note. Send Excel group. So that was what was concerning me about the connectivity issue. If y'all can't talk to one another, then you can't do that group activity. Okay. So when you get the Excel, if you look at it, if y'all want to keep the same leader, y'all are adults, that's fine with me. If not, if you want to share the wealth, then the second person listed on the Excel file, if you're the second person, you're the second leader. If you're the third person, you're the third leader. If you're a group of 3 and there's a 4th activity, then you'll go back to the top. If there's 4 people in the group, then the 4th person is the 4th group leader. Does that make sense? Okay. And like I say, if however y'all want to handle it, it's fine with me about who's the leader. The group leader, like I say, you have to get the people to get it started, to organize it. As a leader, you can delegate, but then your main responsibility is to give me some evidence that everybody's participated. So, like I said, occasionally, I have somebody that tells me they're not happy in their group. And if you're not happy in your group after you do your first thing, let me know and I'll move you to a different group. Sometimes I've had the person that was not pulling their weight and the group wanted to vote them off the island. After that first, when I got the first research question activity and 3 out of the 4 people told me that the 4th one didn't participate, I just emailed that person. I said, I understand you've had a hard time trying to participate and I'm going to dock your grade. And that person, you know, got his act together. So I struggle with, y'all got such a short amount of time. And I struggle with fairness, like that's what people will say. It's not fair for so-and-so to not do his part and then get a same grade. But then, you know, like is the other person, I know the other person not doing their part may cause you to do a little bit more work. You know, I just see pros and cons about that argument, but you know, it is what it is. So if y'all have any trouble, the bottom line is, if you have any trouble with your group and it's distracting you from getting your work done, let me know and I'll take care of it. You might got any questions about that or problems? All right, so I looked at your quizzes and they look pretty darn good to me. That these are the statistics about the, you know, average score. So I look then, and at this point, once the due date comes and goes, then I can't remember who helped. One of y'all taught me how to do that. Googled it and found it. Like I emailed the help desk and said, what can I do? And then whoever asked about it first said, here, I Googled it, try this. So it worked. So once the due date comes, I can't let you see the right answers if I give you 2 times to take the test until the test is over. You know what I'm saying? So once the due date comes, then I fix it so that you can go back and look at the answers. And so the ones that are showing down there that are past quizzes, you should be able to see those answers. And I think I have it set, for sure, that for you to see all the questions and all the right answers. Does that make sense? And if you try it and that's not, I haven't got the right box checked, just let me know and I'll go back and because you have an option for you to see only the answers you got correct, only the answers you got incorrect, or all the answers, or none of the answers. So I think I got it. I think I got it set right. But let me know. So like I say, all of the majority of the final. Now, when I was looking, what I'm going to show you in just a minute, we're working off of test banks predominantly. A test bank, excuse me, that the textbook company created for these chapters that we're using for the test items. When I looked at the question statistics, after I looked at the average, and I thought, well, that looks pretty good. I can look at the question statistics and look at the question. If I see that a lot of people missed the question or it's got a lower percentage, then I read the question. And some of them are pretty bad questions. So we're going to make sure we're not going to use those questions. Although you will have the right answers, but I don't like.
Because I read them, I'm like, what is happening?
Like I read one and I thought one of them, I personally think that they have the wrong answer selected. One of them, it looked like they might be missing a word, some kind of thing, but That area chapter 1, I didn't see any questions that caused any widespread problems. So in area chapter 3, I'll send out this PowerPoint for you. The area chapter 3, these were the questions that were causing the most difficulty, and it might not have been a lot of difficulty, but they were just scored less, like 70 or something like that. Now, I think that, and I know the percentage is low because if a lot of people missed it on the first go, but then you got it right on the second go, it still was going to average, all those attempts at the same time. So I'll send you the PowerPoint. So I put the right answer in there, but y'all can see the right answer. Okay, this one that says, what section should appear in a qualitative proposal appendix? And the answer was budget. Then I thought, nobody's going to do a dissertation and write a budget proposal. Because, none of us have any money. So I wrote out there that that was a tricky question. That a proposal, if you were proposing to do some qualitative research, for a company or something that's not a dissertation, then I could see you putting a budget in there. So, that was kind of a tricky question. All right, the APA, the order about the authors, and that might have been I made up the APA questions because we don't have to test bank for that. So it might be just a poorly worded question. But when you get a journal article or whatever, the person that's name appears first is the one that has, like when you do your dissertation, we want you to write an article. I feel like the student's name needs to go first. Some professors put their name first. But I think you did the most, you did the most work. So I want your name to be first on that article because you did the most work. Now I could see where that was tricky because when you do your entries, your reference entries, those are supposed to be alphabetical. So I thought, well, maybe that was what caused that, heartburn on that question. And the section 8.2 in the manual provides examples of direct quotes. So those are module 4 questions. Okay, empirical. I thought maybe that could have been misunderstood. I thought maybe you were connecting empirical with quantitative. Empirical, there's data there that's caused you to make a conclusion. And whether it's qualitative or quantitative, it makes no difference. It's still empirical data because when you do your when the people that do qualitative research, like the Lynch dissertation that y'all are looking at, she interviewed all those people, she coded all that stuff, she transcribed all that stuff. That's the data that you're looking at. So she made her conclusions based on that data. So empirical just means that you got some particular data from your research that you're basing your conclusion. It's not to do with numbers. That was my best guess. So module 7, there's several chapters in there, and I'm breaking them up. I'm breaking up each section into its own. In the module, you'll have a section on chapter 5, a section on that's measurement, a section on chapter 6. That's validity and reliability. One on descriptive statistics, one on inferential statistics. Module 7 is predominantly quantitative. A lot of the concepts that you'll learn in Module 7 will apply to qualitative, but the ARI textbook is more quantitative bent toward quantitative for this module 7. And like I already told you, you're going to do your quantitative project in Excel. So descriptive, that's your mean, median, mode, standard deviation. There's some things called kurtosis and skew. Don't worry about those. So in the text guide in this particular module, if it got too deep too quick, and I knew that you were going to learn that in your advanced classes, you'll see it. Just look at the text guide. So in these, if you, I make them optional, the text guides, but like I say, when it's in the inferential statistics, for example, toward the end, it starts talking about ANOVA, that's analysis of variance. And we don't really get into variance. Variance just means how far away is it from the mean. And ANOVA is just a test that you could, in Excel, copy this stuff and it'll throw you out a number. The important thing about the ANOVA, MANOVAs, if it's with an M, that's multi-variables that you try to see if there's any relationship there. And you'll learn about that in advanced quant. So you can do it in Excel, the ANOVA. I could get you to do it. But it's understanding what those numbers are. So we're not going to get real deep in inferential. We're going to go with a correlation. A correlation is just to see if there's a relationship. So you're going to do me the descriptive statistics. Just hang with the mean, median, mode. Range is, like if you think about a classroom and I had a average of 50 on a test. And my range was, I had kids that scored from 100 to 0. That's a big range. If you had a 50 average and you've got a range from 55 to 45, that's a tighter range. So you would do things differently in your classroom because your range is different than I would have to do in my classroom when I had such a big range. Does that make sense? So range is good. Range is a good concept. So mean, median, mode, range, standard deviation. There's some stuff about the bell curve. Y'all probably heard all bell curve, but we're going to go over bell curve again. In the bell curve, right down the center is the average. That's the mean, and then you'll see the little lines that go over on the bell. And each one of those lines is one standard deviation. So most of the things are in those one standard deviation plus or minus. Most people are hanging right there in the middle. So you'll go. I got stuff all about that for you. A big idea about a bell curve and that kind of the scores. And there's a really good. I believe it's in the book. If it's not, then I'm including it in your text guide. If you think about, we got a lot of people grouped together in the middle of the bell curve. This is a big idea. And then as you get out to the tails, you have less and less people. There's a concept called equidistance. Like if you're measuring something with a ruler, 1 inch to 2 inches, from 1 to 2 is the same distance as 2 to 3, as 3 to 4. That's equidistant. In a bell curve, if you think about it, I got all these scores that are stacked in the middle. If you squash that bell down, then they're not the same distance apart. Like from a 60 to a 61 is tiny, as opposed to a 90 to a 91 is going to be a big distance. So in those percentages and percentiles and things that are not equidistant, you can't do math with those because it's not equal. Does that make sense? Okay. And I put all that in your text guide too, but I just want to make sure that I told you that because that's important, especially when you're talking about math. The thing about doing math with stuff, the statistics part, and it's not the math because the computer is going to do the math for you. It's having the understanding of what are these numbers I'm looking at and what do they mean. and to know if I can do math with it or if I shouldn't do math with it. Those are big ideas. Any questions about module 7? I've almost got my parts. I sent y'all an email and said Dr. Mitchell had put 2 chapters, chapter 17 and chapter 19 in her qualitative. And then we talked and decided it might fit better in this module 7. There were questions in that module 5, that she had included on the test. And some of y'all had already taken the test, so I did not change the test. I just let it go. So you'll have chapter 17 and 19. You'll see it again in module 7. We have a shell course that we're building that's going to be a master. But because y'all already had question items for 17 and 19, I'm going to build that test. Your module 7 will be different than other class because I'm not including 17 and 19 test items in that. Does that make sense? I'm trying to take care of you. All right, so you're going to see 17 and 19 again in module 7, and she's building that. I've emailed her today, and I haven't gotten a response, so I don't know if she's gone back to Valdosta and doesn't have internet or what, but I haven't heard from her. But I'll take care of it. And if we have a problem, I'll fix it. So module 7 is almost done. If I can't get up with her shortly, like by the end of next week or something, I'll go ahead and open my module 7 up so y'all can start looking at it. This is probably going to be the heaviest module that you have, module 7, unless you like numbers and statistics. Don't let it scare you though. All right, so anybody have any questions? Comments or concerns? Go for it.
I have a question about the quantitative, finding the parts for the dissertation. It says at one point to copy and paste the charts or tables that talk about data. There's like 70 of them. Like, are you wanting to copy and paste anything into that?
No, I didn't want y'all to. I want you to know that they have charts and graphs in there. If you just wanted to copy 1 or 2, kind of thing that you think's special. I wanted you to make sure there's a difference in a figure and a table. You'll learn that in your APA chapter 7, I believe, if you hadn't already figured it out. So I just wanted you to kind of look at, so you have a concept of when you start designing your research project, that you would think, what kind of charts and tables would I have in my plan? What would I plan? And when you start your dissertation, when y'all get to the point where you're actually doing this for real, you won't think of everything. And as you start, I can't remember if I've told y'all this or not. So in the process, when you get to be a candidate, you've got all your coursework done. You're going to get a chair, probably going to get a researcher pretty quick on your team, and you're going to do chapters 1, 2, and 3. Generally, people want you to have a good solid chapter 1 before you go on. Chapter 2 is your lit review. You're working on it all the time. Chapter 3 is your methods. So once you do your methods, start talking about your methods, and things start, going on in your head about what charts and tables and graphs should I have in this thing. Like, should I have a descriptive statistic even though I'm doing a qualitative? Probably not. So those are the kind of things I wanted you to kind of think about. Most quantitative dissertations are going to have lots of charts and graphs. So no, I don't expect you to have it all. I just wanted you to have enough practice with it that you look at it and you're thinking, hey, if I was doing this for real and it was a quantitative, I'd probably have a pie chart for this, and I'd probably have a table for that, you know, that kind of stuff, so. Just divisible for you, as applicable as possible. Hi, what you got a question about?
Yeah, my
Mark?
question. Just really quick. So I noticed, and I'm not sure if this is intentional, that in the grades that my research reflection paper is not showing. I wasn't sure if you just haven't gotten around to that or if it wasn't released, but I noticed that that was not showing. So I wasn't sure.
I will check
so-
that and make sure.
I noticed you've graded everything since then, and that was early on in the course. So I just wasn't sure if that was a accident or if you just haven't gotten around to it. So
Probably.
Okay.
I had a big project I had to do to submit, had nothing to do with y'all. And then, like I say, Dr. Mitchell moved up in July and we started talking about redoing the course. So it is altogether possible I just missed it, but I will check it. I got it on a Post-it note, so it'll get done.
Of course. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Sometimes when I'm grading things, you grade it and then you have to remember to put in the number and then, hit save. And so sometimes I'll grade it or look at it, review it. And then, sometimes I type in feedback and I forget to put the number in there. So that's probably what happened. Any other questions? Yes, Carlos?
Hi, just a quick question regarding the textbooks in this course. I just feel like these, I feel like I keep saying Creswell's last name pop up all the time. Maybe not so much Ari, but I guess my question is, to your knowledge, are there any other courses within our, program that make use of these same textbooks, or like whenever should we decide to take a more quantitative track, will we be accessing much more, dense, mathy, gross textbooks, or would we essentially be using the same textbooks throughout the program?
So Dr. Brockmeyer that left, he retired, that taught the advanced quantitative, and now Dr. Downey, he's the department head, is going to take those up. We hired a new quantitative researcher person, but Dr. Downey has been on a mission to make sure we have some commonality and some continuity with our research classes. So it's always been that the quantitative people use the Ari textbook. So I know you'll use that for sure. That Harris book, you'll use that in your lit review class. I think it's 9400. So I know Dr. Hartzell uses that. That had come in with another professor, but she took over that class, and to the best of my knowledge, she's like that book. The Creswell's the only iffy one that you may or may not see again. I like it because it gives you templates. It was when I started teaching this in 2016, Dr. Downey, the department head, is the one that had created the original course. And that was one of the books that you're buying are the same books that were with different editions, same ones that have been used since 2016. Now I know there's a Maxwell book that I've seen from the qualitative people, and I'm not sure of any others. So the only one that's going to be iffy is the Creswell book. But like I say, he's got a lot of good tables in there, like how something to. If I'm trying to figure out what, even for quantitative, he's a mixed methods guru and qualitative. He's more on that side of the house. But he's got some good tables and some good templates. Like when you have to write up your results, there's a way that you're expected to write those results. You're going to see that pretty quick. He's got some great templates in there. So I wouldn't throw it away, that Creswell book. The Ari one you will see again for sure. And what's good about the Ari, when I got my Ari book from, it's probably an 8th edition, maybe a 9th one, that I had when I was in your shoes, and it's something you'll refer to back a lot. I mean, even after you get your doctorate degree, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, if you're reading a research article and you're thinking, what was that? What's a MANOVA, kind of thing, you'll go back to that Ari book and look it up. Or you may Google it, I don't know. But the Ari book, you'll use it for sure. And like I said, the Harris book, the APA manual, it'll be glued to your right hand, the APA manual. But any other questions? Like Dr. Brockmeyer did not require people to buy the Creswell book, but he was, his feet were firmly in the quantitative side. So he got the Ari book and the APA manual. Was the only 2 books he asked for in his class. So.
I do have one more question, but it's less of a for the good of the group kind of question. It's more of I have a very particular idea for what I think I want my, research to be about, further on in the process. So if it's okay, Dr. Nobles, I'd like to maybe hang back once the session is over and just ask you a very pointed question.
Okay. I hope y'all have learned, my phone is blowing up because we're having a class reunion. And I live in such a small place that we can't have like one group to have a class. We have like 3 or 4 years that'll have it. So there's some hot and heavy planning going on over here. The research questions are very difficult. I have seen research questions change after the person has gone to a proposal defense. Tweak, not, majorly changed. But research questions are difficult. So I wanted y'all to get that idea down. And when you go through your last class, during your last semester of coursework, you have, they call it conceptualization class, and you come out with a prospectus, which is kind of a mock chapters 1, 2, and 3. And people have the idea that whatever's in that prospectus is good to go, and that's not the case. We still have to think about it. There's a lot of thinking, and the more dialogue you have, like when somebody asks me to be their chair, I always set up some calls. And when we talk through that dialogue, we get down to narrow the focus about exactly what it is do you want to find out. Like I got one person now that's doing a study about, she's young, and accelerated reader, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. She did it as a child and she's using it as a teacher. And she was curious about if people that used accelerated reader as a student, if that impacted how they implemented as a teacher. So as we talked, it was less about accelerated reader, because that's kind of the accelerated reader is one of those things people either love or they hate. So it was really less about accelerated reader and more about the teacher beliefs, the teacher's efficacy, whether I thought that I could do a good job using it, and implementation. When whatever you're doing in whatever field you're in, you can have a great idea, but if you don't implement it correctly, that's when we have a problem. So we went from pure AR focus to how did the teacher's beliefs, and if they believe they can do a good job, that's efficacy, and how they implemented it. Did those 2 things impact their implementation? So her study, took a big turn, and as she started looking at the literature, and a lot of that came through our conversations. about, because she would tell me something and I'd question her about it. And then she'd mull that over and then we'd have another call, you know. And so we finally got down to what exactly was going to be in her study. So it's a lot. Thinking is hard work. And the more time you spend on that foundational piece, on getting that chapter 1 done, the easier the rest of it's going to be. But you don't want to build chapters 1, 2, and, you know, some of 3, and then get down the road and decide, hey, that's not going to work, or that's not really what I'm interested in, and have to start over again. So that's why I try to make sure that we have a clear understanding of what exactly it is that we want to do. And that impacts your research questions. Your research questions impact your rest of your design. So. Any other questions? It's a process. You know, I don't want to scare y'all for anything. It's just, you know, it's not for the faint of heart. You have to hang with it, you know, and take it one step at a time. You know, you can't just barrel over a bunch of steps. You've got to take it one step at a time. And that's what I'm trying to get across when y'all are doing these projects, is to see it's logical. It's just a logical thing. And like Dr. Downey says, I usually have students say, what if I get the wrong answer? Well, there is no wrong answer. Whatever answer you get, that's what you get. It's a conceiving, that's his words. We want to make sure you can conceive, develop, and execute a plan that's logical. And then once you get to the end and you get the data that you get, it is what it is. Then you tell us, based on the literature, I thought I was going to get this. Based on the literature, I thought I was going to get something different. That's all your chapter 5. That's what you write about, or 5 or 6, depending on how many chapters you wind up with. All right, so we're going to have another call when it gets toward the end of the semester, to answer any questions that you have, for us to get wrapped up, to get us over the hump. And I'm always available. If you have any questions that you'd like to have a personal call with me, just let me know and we'll schedule something up, like if you're having a difficult thing. Again, if you're having, when your group gets together and you get your research questions and y'all start talking about it and you want me to be in on a group meeting, just let me know and I'll put it on my calendar. All right. Any other questions? I am going to stop sharing. That should give me back my screen. My screen has appeared. And I'm going to stop the recording. All right. Anybody want to say anything you don't want recorded? All right. Well, it's good to see your smiling faces. I'm glad everyone's safe and healthy and that you all have electricity. Electricity is a wonderful thing. All right. If you have no more questions, then I will wish you a good night then, except for Carlos. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, so thanks. I have this idea, and really my goal is to, you know, get this dissertation done as soon as possible. Of course, you know, do it the due
Everybody.
diligence it deserves, of
Mhm.
course, but
Mhm.
like finish, you know. So I've been mulling over an idea of this particular idea, and it's relevant. The relevance is it's experienced by every single math teacher in the state of South Carolina. There was a proviso, like one of the